Hello, cosmic crew, galactic travelers. What's up, everybody? It is Sunday morning. It is July. Oh my gosh, it's July. It's July. Can't even tell me time is not moving because that is just insane to me that it's July. I don't know if any of you guys are out there today. Hello, hello. Um, so much is going on energetically. And it's changing the way we interact with people. It's changing the way others react to us. Hey, girl. Hey, Raven, Anna. Today, I just wanted to show up. The energy in my body is pulsing so much. I don't, are you guys feeling this? It's like my inside, hello Sharon. It's like the inside of my body is just like vibrating at this level, and it's like my brain is trying to figure out what am I supposed to do with it. And this has been building up in me. I don't know if y'all are y'all feeling this? Yes, I mean, Sharon, what do you? So it's like where our energy is on the planet is raising and speeding up so fast. And right now, this is how I feel it. And we're going to talk about a few things, okay? We're going to talk about how others act, because I have all the, and I know that these are all backwards, but we're going to even talk about this. Because the fact that these are backwards during this on the last live. Everything is mirror and merge. Okay, so your eyes, think about it. The lens of this YouTube is live. It's not a recording. So what you're looking at is what we look at in this new reality. It's actually live. It's no longer a playback. So when it's live, it's backwards. When it's a playback, then you're seeing everything how we used to see it. So this is a perfect example of how everything is mirror and merge now. And again, if we're going to star seeds, this is back to the Lyran mirror and merge. So think about this. When we're living our life live, awake, conscious, then we have to look at things backward. I mean, when I have the like this intense anxiety to plan or do something, it's like my mind now says, "Oh wait, Christy, sit down, because why are you thinking that way?" I have to think the opposite of, and sometimes I'll go ahead and go do those things, but I have to first have to sit down and think about it. Sorry. Sorry. Ah. Man, Mercury and Leo has been kicking my ass for real. I don't know if y'all, but it's like when Mercury goes retrograde, we're really going to be super screwed. Okay. So we were just talking about the mirror and merge, right? And now I want to get back to the body, because everything else on here is about our light bodies changing. And you know, we've been on this journey for about a year. At least I have. For those of you who are just now waking up, if are there any in the live that are just now activating? If you are, then this is an intense time, and I want to kind of describe this for you guys, because it's so easy for us to sit and just have this image and think about, meditate, you know, create this image, which we have to do, right? That's what we've been doing this whole time, is like creating this image that then our vibration can rise up to meet. Well, what's happening right now is that our vibrations are so high that our physical body is now, we're having to do things. We, we're not living in this etheric world anymore. We're literally walking in the etheric world. And for the past week or so, and energetically, I've been trying to keep my energy in because I felt like for a while I was spreading it too thin, you know, and this comes back to abundance, and this comes back to, you know, just making sure that you're receiving as well, and not just giving, giving, giving. Well, my soul had me do that, and now I'm to the point where I'm just like energetically, I felt like if I didn't get on and share that I was going to blow up. So when we are around people, and I know that a lot of us either have the problem still with speaking our truth, or are in situations where it's really easy to speak your truth to people who are don't know you, but the people in your families and these things that are all coming up right now, everything is coming up for in everyone on the planet right now, because as our energy raises, remember, we all have these templates inside of us that are either from programs linked to our galactic DNA or Earth DNA. And this is so real. This is what we see when we do these starseed charts and activations, especially since I talk to so many of you. And I'm going to start doing videos just on specific star nations and the programs, because what you understand and understand is that each one of those situations, the divorce, someone who tried to kill you, the rape, the the molestation, the abuse, the adoption, losing your business, being screwed out of a lot of money, um, having lots of power then losing power, having lots of abundance then losing abundance. Um, those are like the big ones. Health. Zeta reticulis tend to have a lot more problems with their health because the karmic race of the Zeta reticuli, that's what they were doing, right? Was manipulating the body to get us to where we are now. But the race picks up the karma just like we pick up karma and dharma. That race picks up karma and dharma, and so that's in your frequency. And these are things that we didn't know. We just thought that, man, everyone must really hate us, or why did we end up here alone, or why did my parents never help me, or you know, why am I in this relationship with this man who is so narcissistic? Why doesn't anybody love me? I love everyone else. Why is nobody loving me? I mean, why does everyone in my family think that I'm the black sheep? Why do I not connect with anybody else? I mean, these are every single one of them is in the programming that we were stuck in. So yes, please do some videos about star nations, would be so helpful. Yes, I'm gonna start doing them, because now I've done, you know, these activations, and I'm learning more and more, and I'm seeing more and more of the same situation. None of it had anything to do with you. This is how I think of this, and this helps me a lot, okay? Literally right now, close your eyes. We are all star seeds. We are all either, you know, RH negatives, or we're from the future, right? But we carry some of that ancient star seed from whatever plane you came from the future, from the past. It's all very important. And those of us right now that are really, our souls are more and more coming inside of our body with every energy wave that comes in. All right? So that's why this energy is like just coming up in us to where we feel like we're going to pop. But at the same time, we're all sitting in the cell block. We're sitting in a cell block, it seems. This is the feeling I get, okay? This is not where we should be. But this is kind of where we're at, right? We're sitting in a cell block, and it's like we've been in there for a really, really long time, but we know that we get fed 3 times a day, we sleep, we know where the bathroom is, we know where our friends are, right? We've been stuck in there for hundreds of thousands of years, some of us. And so the doors are open. The doors are open. And we're all like looking at each other going, okay, who's going to take the first step? Who's going to take the first step? Well, right now we're all standing at the doors. I'm getting chills all over me right now. We're standing at the doors, and we're taking a step. And every time we take a step out of that door frame into freedom, imagine you've got an energy scans. They're just lines. You can add a rainbow if you want, is what I'm seeing right now. It's like a rainbow of energy, and they're like kind of like that Star Wars one that I have that scans, right? It's like scanners. There's a red scanner, then there's an orange scanner, then there's a yellow scanner. So every time we step out and we step into that red scanner, and that red scanner is a bitch. That red scanner is that root chakra that's tied down to that third dimension, that's keeping us in this state of lower consciousness, right? So when we went through that scan, and that red energy scan hit our body as we took that step through the doorway, then all that energy, whatever was associated with that red, then starts what? Pulsing out of our body. And literally it pulses out into our emotional body. And so if we have Draco, if we have Orion, okay, if we have some of that seed, then immediately what comes up is sometimes abusive relationships, any experience that is going to make you take back your power. When this first started with me, I had a bunch of strange men propositioning for me for sex all of a sudden. And it wasn't a bunch, it was 2 or 3, but it was not normal. You know, I normally in my real life, even 20 years of technology, I didn't have like these crazy advances with this sexual energy, but that's that red energy. And so whenever that came up in my life, then, and this man came up to me, then it's like I cleared it by taking my power back. You know, I'm like, no, what? No way. Man, you're misunderstanding me. You know, so let's make sure that and let me tell you why you're feeling that way. You're feeling that way because my energy has ignited your root chakra, and you think it's sexual, but it's really not. And we're finding that this is with women and men. This is like the masses. When our energy frequency is so high, as we step into crowds or even one-on-one, let's talk about how this is changing, because I think that this is really important. And I talk about this on my activations all the time. Your energy frequency is, think of it as like a rainbow again. And so if you're hitting blue and purple octaves, whenever you step in front of anybody else, whether it be in a large group or one-on-one, your energy automatically raises to a higher frequency, from red being low to purple being the highest, that violet purple. Your energy raises the person's energy that's right in front of you. And when we're riding these cosmic waves, like we just had this full moon, so it's releasing. Now what's going to happen, right? Because when there's mega dark, there's always mega light. When there's mega low, there's always a mega high. I mean, because that is as above, so below. So as that wave comes back up, sometimes these waves are so strong, and depending on where your frequency is, it can literally carry you, it carries you into a different dimension. What do I mean by that? I mean that there was a short period of time, and I had this happen in the past week. And so I want to tell this story. right after the full moon of Scorpio, the Waysack full moon, that's crazy energy that came in whenever we completed the OA, whenever the earth tilted in energy. And I talk about how I had this spiritual awakening where I found myself around people and I'd never met him before, but we were drawn together by different ways, and we were at such a high dimension. We were dealing with, planetary involvement, earth involvement, and all. It was a group. There was a group in Dallas, and there was a person down here, that these people popped up into my reality. And for 4 or 5 days, we were there. We were all very high dimension in it, and we were completing the it's like we didn't even. I was talking about the different, all these knowings that were coming up, and they were all these keys that were linking, the Mayans with the Bible, and I was quoting the Bible, and it went on for days. And I was just rolling with it, right? Like, I didn't know what was going on. If you look back to some of my videos, this is whenever all these big shifts started really happening. Well, I'm talking about this because when the energy changed and it dropped down some, I was the only one who remembered all of it. The people that were with me, that were there at a higher dimension, who I'd never met in a lower density state, didn't remember any of it. And it was like I had met that person again at a different dimensional plane. And this was confusing AF. This is why I'm sharing this with you. Because I was the only one who kind of remembered what had happened. And then that was the beginning of May. And last week is whenever I started getting phone calls from these people again going, hey, did that really happen? But see, it had been like over a month since it had happened. But we had caught another energy wave, and when that wave shot their energy up, then they remembered it. Okay, so now let's go back to whenever you're in front of people, because whenever you're in front of somebody, this is why we meet so many people, and we're as way showers, we're guided to have conversations and just drop little bits of information, and we never know what it quite is. And then sometimes we're scared to say it because we don't want to be judged or offended. And what I'm letting you know is that whenever I have never in the year that I have talked to anybody that sat next to me, even when I didn't even know what the heck I was talking about, I have never had anyone telling me, "Bitch, you're crazy." Now, I had one guy go, "You sound a little nuts, but keep talking." But that's it. And so what I realized is, and then in the beginning when this started happening, I started collecting phone numbers and like trying to do my old 3D way of life. Like, let's connect again, let's keep this up. And especially, when we have those programs, like a lot of us divine feminine that are, I can help you, I can save you, right? Which is detrimental to us. That's what we're also learning, right? We can't save everybody. But they would leave me, and I would never hear from again, and they would forget. Well, this is what's happening when they get in front of you. You raise their energy enough to share information, and even when they leave, their consciousness might drop down, but as soon as their consciousness comes back up, they're going to remember your words. And those are the keys. Hardest lesson ever. Yes, because we want to save everyone. And man, these are the hardest decisions that I've made in this past year. Because we're programmed to think that if we cut my ex, a lot of y'all know that I got out of a really crazy relationship, but a lot of us are in those relationships. We planted ourselves here. They were all part of our mission. If we didn't stand up to the people around us and tell them, what's happened to us, and how we're changing the world, and just watch. And the ones around us are the ones, and I'm sure it's trippy, right? I'm sure it's trippy. I mean, I can't imagine my ex, whenever I had my DMT activation all of a sudden, and I didn't know what was going on and they didn't know what was going on, you know but what happened through that whole process is I just kept standing up and saying, I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm right, and I'm sorry if you need to leave, but I understand, and let it go. But there was some cords that I was hanging on that I thought I was helping him, and it was hurting me. And what I realized is that I'm by hanging on and giving him this little cushion of a cell phone and something else, it was like the bank account or some, there was two things that I had left on because he didn't have a way to get it, and I thought I was helping. And it was hurting me. It was giving me so much anxiety, and it was keeping me attached to that whole relationship. And I knew that. But cutting those cords, I felt like I was, condemning somebody, to have them fall flat on their face. Well, then I realized that me not letting him fall flat on his face wasn't allowing him to get to the bottom where he needed to be in order to activate. And if I didn't do that, then I'm not fulfilling my end of the bargain, because I know at a soul level, he came in to hurt me so that I would wake up. So I know it's the hardest thing, but remember, cutting cords is the most important thing. And I talk about this a lot because, especially as fathers and mothers, we're scared to cut cords to our kids, because then we think that, I can't cut cords with my kid. Well, every single thought you've ever had about your kid is still on him. If he's 18 and you haven't cut cords since he was a baby, then you're connected to him every time he needs to eat and poop. So see, I mean, those are old programs that no longer need to be there. Now, every time you have a new thought about the adult kid, then those are the energy cords that you're cutting. So cut them every day. Cut them every day. Imagine yourself in a vessel. I just imagine myself in a light vessel with a razor, and I'm just like, whoosh, I'm cut. All right? Because this is the other thing I want to talk about. Your light body, this is from Sync Saturday, last Saturday, this week, or 2 weeks ago. And I've been talking to this again on the activations that I'm doing. If you guys, $45, you can find out where you're from. Just text me, coco@cosmicchristy.com, and 69 for, the coaching. I realized this from my last experience. And again, this is about the experiences that I'm having in the physical. And this is where this is where Leo and Venus is, right? We're on the main stage. Like, this is it, guys. Like, this shift is happening. Don't worry about the people that don't get it, because it's, there's going to be no question as to, not even right or wrong, but stay in your truth, because it's all going to be shown very soon. Okay? Have faith. It's coming. This is all real. And you know that. So the whole test is, are you going to waver? Can you stand the heat? Because if we can't stand up to the people in our lives and tell them what's going on, then how the hell are we going to do it to the world? So your light body, what I noticed in that last Saturday, I think the whole thing, when, not last 2 weeks ago when I did the Sync Saturday, the whole thing was basically you're showing me in my physical Christy, in my soul, showing how much power we have. And so I want to talk about this, because when I was in a crowd of 4,000 people, are y'all feeling detached? Are you feeling like this, when you're around people, it's like this attached detachment? Does this make sense? Y'all talk to me, because I know I'm like been on a roar, but I was in a group of 4,000 people, okay? And a lot of this immensely. Jenny, do you feel like you used to be able to feel people staring at you? You know how when we used to walk in a room, especially if it was the opposite sex. If it was the opposite sex, no matter what it was, if someone looked at you sexually, whether it was a man or if it was a woman looking at a man, you could feel it when you walk into a room, and it automatically kind of makes you peacock. Like you can't even help it. It's just a reaction, you know. So you walk in, a couple of men are staring at you. You can feel them from across the room. You don't make eye contact, but you can feel the energy, and you're like, you kind of do that. You can't help it. Men too, right? Well, that's always been an energy that I've understood, and I've always been able to alchemize it, not even knowing what I was doing. But my point in this story is this: I was around 4,000 people, and I felt like I wasn't even there. And I've been able to describe this in my sessions as this: our bodies are like a porcupine body, and the energy in us now, the light, which is literally happening with the evolution of our cells and the activation of this golden mean, the energy is coming out so much that we're like a porcupine. Our bodies are like a porcupine, and that, the skin of a porcupine is all just these little, I call them lightning bolts coming out of our bodies. And so at our core of our lightning bolt, there's not any holes left, because that porcupine needle is like this thick at the bottom next to the skin, but it's a little bitty point at the end. And so there's nothing left to penetrate in. And so when I was sitting on that bench, and number one, that whole day, no matter where I went, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about, the sun was like beaming. That was like those pictures that I had of the sun, breaking out into all these different light particles, and the interaction, it's blowing up, it's coming down. And so I was sitting on a bench, 4,000 people, I'm looking at the sun, and I don't feel anyone staring at me. And I look up, and there's at least 6 or 7 men staring straight at me, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel, I wouldn't have even seen it if I wouldn't have changed my awareness. And in that moment, I was like, holy crap, because when I started looking around, I saw these people staring at me, and I thought, why am I not feeling this? Well, then, whenever I tuned in to a couple of the men staring, it wasn't even the same energy. It wasn't that sexual energy. It was just kind of like this, wow. It was like they were just staring, they were seeing something they hadn't, I don't know what they were seeing, but it wasn't that same energy. So that's what's happening. We're kind of like these little balls, and again, remember that, I want to keep some of these up here because I want to make sure to get them. Remember that, like, at that concert, everyone else that's in 5D is on this energy wave. Well, I was up here, and there were definitely other people that were up here, but I didn't interact with them. But see, these people down here were having a different experience. And what's happening is that now we're moving up into these higher and higher octaves. And so this is why our energy, because we're all these little energy bubbles, right? This is quantum entanglement. So this is why we're feeling this way. But this is also where our power is. This is the main part of what's going on right now, because the energy in our soul, the pieces of our souls are finally coming in balance, and there is enough energy to do it. But we have to start walking the walk. And see, this is the hard part. I'm going through it too. Trying to understand how people react, what's going on. We're transcending the wheel, my body the past couple of days. Tell me, guys, are y'all having stuff? It's a little bit different than it used to be with like the energy upgrades that I used to have. Now I just kind of feel sweaty, I feel like that uranium radioactive energy in my body. I'm having a lot of hot flashes, a lot of hot flashes. That's the plasma body, right? Because we go into a crystalline body, then it goes into a plasma body. So that if you're having a lot of hot flashes, that's the plasma body. Are you guys having hot flashes? Um, I'm also like my body, my skin feels tighter all of a sudden. Um, and I'm having circulation problems, especially whenever I sleep the past 2 nights. I feel sometimes when I'm out in public that I'm holding space for. That's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly because look, this is this is basically 5D. This is 4D or 3D that these people are in. So since we're these energy bubbles way up here, we are literally pushing that plasma bubble. This is what we've been doing as starseeds since 1972, 69. Okay, we've been challenging. We've been bringing in new ways of doing things. We've been challenging the government. We've been challenging the school systems. We've been challenging how families should be set up. I mean, think about the RH negatives. A bunch of us were adopted and foster babies. If you want to look back to 1970s and 60s, whenever the all that was going on, I mean, we basically brought all that in. You know, before our generation, when we were adopted in the social network, I mean, before we had all of us adopted babies coming in, think about how adoption was so like whenever I was adopted, it was like she's adopted. Oh, I mean, it's even written on the family tree, adopted, really big, right? Well, now look at our world. We did that. The star seeds did that. We changed the technology. We changed everything. That's why we're here through to evolve, but we had to do it from the inside out. So now we're evolving into 5D, first time ever in galactic fucking history. And so right now you are holding space. Keep going. Let's keep going. But see, at the same time, we're going through these evolutionary changes in our bodies, and we're literally reacting with people differently. And we're going through these scannings at the same time, where remember, anything that's left in your body is going to pop, anything that's a negative energy is going to pop up into an experience. It's up to you how bad that experience gets before you learn the lesson. When that just pops up in your life, you know, I mean, my gosh, my car motor blew up, then I had a flat tire in the rental, you know, like we have all these little things, but I know that too, there was reasons that was all happening, you know, besides the fact that I was calling in for a new car, and I don't know if it's going to end up being that, but I had to show myself and work through that situation with the new tools. I just saw somebody posted and said, what are the instructions to life? I said, hey, we've got the instructions now. Well, the instructions are what I'm talking about right now. How do we live it in this body? Because this is when we're transcending the wheel, but we're not having to die to do it. Humanity is transcending the wheel. A lot of us are transcending the zodiac. This is what the zodiac was meant to do. It even fits into the Sirius flag. I need to do a video on that too. I just need somebody to come follow us around. Okay. I want to talk about this real quick because this is really important. We talked about that. We talked about that. Okay, this is important. This is the event, and I don't know. I've talked about when I was in those higher dimensions, and I know that, and this is that where's the manual, right? The manual is in our bodies, and then it comes out, and it's all of us talking about how we lived as spiritual beings, because you remember, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. Say that 3 times, and you get a different perspective. It's like one of those little clicks. I think might be buried under a pile of rubble. And that's where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be under a pile of rubble. And now we're moving the blocks. Okay. But when we go through these shifts and we're at this multidimensional level, whenever you start reaching those, we're all going through this change. It's like an event happening, and I'm realizing now that whenever I went through that high level experience, and I have talked about this, I had beings around me that were coaching me through. This was May 3rd. It was raining, thundering outside. We were again, this is at the height of that full moon energy of the Waysack, and all of a sudden I took on a dimensionality of Earth. And this was right after I felt the balance tip. The beings that were in the room had even introduced me as like were introduced to me, and they even explained to me why I was left behind as a star seed, because they were basically a multidimensional parental beings that had come through these physical people, because this is what's happening as we shift the energy. As the energies shift, this is the 7-year tribulation, okay? And as these energies shift, it leaves open this rainbow bridge. And so entities are angelic and negative, so high and low vibration entities are jumping in and out of people that aren't aware. So this might make some sense to you guys. I've seen this happen in a positive and a negative way, but like, I have a rule now: I don't stay out anywhere past midnight, especially if there's people drinking. I don't have any deal with that. Everyone has their own, and I used to do it myself, but I don't anymore, especially liquor, because in this new energy, it keeps your body dense. And if you're not connected, then these lower entities are jumping in and out of that person's body. So if there's like a sharp change in somebody's, because I would be out talking, and I go out by myself all the time. I used to, especially. I love to dance, and so I would go out by myself in the past year. And this happened early on, but I didn't understand it until just like a couple of weeks ago, really. But I had found myself in a situation talking to this man, having a great time, and then all of a sudden it was like his energy completely changed, like within a second. And he was getting real gropey with me, and I can handle myself, so I was getting away from him, but I was a little panicked in this situation. And immediately after this happened, it was somebody, another man popped up around that I hadn't talked to, hadn't met, and his energy was so beautiful and light, and he came up behind me and kind of escorted me to another place. And then this was early on, and I got his phone number, and then we had texted back and forth, and he didn't even remember. This is one of those situations that I was telling you, where I saw that in his body, like an angelic form came in and kind of moved me out of the situation, because I was just being guided through the energies, but I was also getting a front row stage at seeing these energies jump in and out. And this was a year ago. So now what's happening is that it's becoming rampant. Okay, so if you see sharp changes in people's, especially ones that you maybe not be conscious, just be aware that that stuff is happening. And it's getting to the strongest point. It's gonna get stronger, but now we're starting to see more of it pop up on YouTube, where we're triggering, our light energy is triggering the dark, because there's always a balance. So we're getting a lot of crazy comments. I got one MILF comment today, and I'm just erasing these. I'm not even going to stay. Liquor spirits, that's exactly right. So the event now, for me, now I know, and I actually, that day on May 3rd, let's go back there, because my whole body kind of took over, and I could feel the weight of the energy. I was bending. I could feel the consciousness. I could see where some of the earth was going to break off. And all of a sudden it started thundering and lightning outside in my real physical form. So I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? This was on May 3rd. And there was a I was in this basically like a deep meditation, but I was awake. It was a walking meditation. I was in a different dimension, and I can't remember what happened that made me think that the 3D world was gone. But there was something that I can't remember exactly what it was, but in an instant I thought that my son was dead, my family was dead, all of y'all were dead, like the whole earth was gone. And I was screaming and listen, because keep listening, because I think that this is part of this internal event, because we are dying in a way, but we're dying in our physical suit. And so what's happening is we are going through like a rite of passage, and I'm seeing it. I've seen two different scenarios, and I'm going to get to the other one after this. So I just want to share this because this is, remember, everyone has their own experience, and there is an internal event that happens and an external event that's going to be, a lot of external events on the world stage, but there's all these internal ones, and these are the ones that we really need to get a grasp on, so that when it happens, we understand the joy of it as well. So when I thought everything was dead and I was screaming, I was literally banging my head. I mean, I thought my son was gone and my parents. I thought everyone was dead. And I was getting coached by these beings around me, okay, Christy, now you got to create. Like, now you got to create, pull it together, create. And I remember just grabbing my internal emotion with the most strength that I could, because it was like this overwhelming, like I knew I had to do it. And I peeked my head up, and when I did, I saw it go into this new plasma bubble, and it was like my head was in this plasma bubble, and I was looking around, but nothing was there. It was just all these bubbly type of, what is it called whenever it's the colors are merged, all like a prism but on a bubble. Now I know, yes, that really did happen. I really, and then the breath of life was blown in me through another set of beings, and then that's when the earth started moving. All it takes is one conscious person to do it. Now, what I've also, what I believe that was, now, not only from an outside perspective, from a planetary dimensional perspective, but for Christy the being, what I believe that was, and there's a picture, and how I link this is there's a picture of Osiris, and this was a hieroglyph that was in some of the chambers, and I don't remember which one it was, but if you go looking, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a hieroglyph where Osiris, in the this is part of his underworld experience, his head is poking out of this big oval circle. There's a snake underneath, and there, gosh, I wish I could show it right here. I might be able to pull it up on my phone. Let me see. But it's on a hieroglyph, and so when I saw that, I was like, "Holy crap! That's what happened to me." And it's on a hieroglyph, and it's part of the underworld ascension process. So I believe, and what my knowing is that this is part of an internal process of ascending, that marks a bridge mark where you're taking your body with you, because remember, this is the first time that this has ever happened, as the masses and collected to the consciousness. If you want to look at Yahshua and Buddha and all the different ascended masters that had walked the planet before, yes, they had done this as well, but they were also not connected to the collective consciousness like we are now. So I'm saying this because this is an example of an event that could happen internally for you, and or something like it, because we all have different experiences. But if something happens like this, know that's what it is. I've also heard this described, oh gosh, what's her name? Oh, God, what's her name? I always forget names. Oh, I hope she comes. She has a channel on YouTube. She does light language. Anyway, She described in the past couple of days a similar situation that she's had in the past week, where she was in an all white room, kind of like the Matrix. Um, she described this to her listeners, and it reminded me of my experience, the feelings that she was describing. And for her, her name starts with a T. Mm, uh, she kind of had a she had the same type of experience, but within her mind, instead of going through this plasma bubble with her physical head like I did and looking around, instead of that experience, okay, how it manifested for her was that she was meditating, and then all of a sudden she was in this all white room, kind of like the Matrix. She was in an all white room. There was nothing there, okay? Again, bubble, head through the bubble, nothing there but color, okay? Because we're right here. We're coming through the plasma. This is really happening. We're right here. We're cutting through the plasma, and our physical body, your physical presence will go through an experience, either and it could be in the physical state, it could be in a mental state, right? It could be both. But if you have some type of experience like this, understand that nothing's gone. Understand that what you're doing is birthing. And that is manifestation. The only way. Hi, Maria. Maria, Maria. I understood manifesting and alchemy in that moment when I thought the world was dead and everyone that I knew was gone, is whenever I started understanding alchemy. That bubble that I created and poked my head through to birth my new body in this new, to pull in my full soul, to start anew, to bring in everything, to be the light being that I came here to be, I could not have created that other bubble if I couldn't have taken the pain of the loss that I felt in that moment and the anguish, because I thought my 10-year-old was gone, the one that I gave my life almost to have. And I kept screaming, my son, he's dead. My son, he's dead. He's dead. It's going to make me cry right now. I mean, like, and Addie, the being that was supporting me, kept saying, and this is how I knew she was in another dimensional level, because she kept saying, he's lived his destiny, now you're living yours. He's proud of you. He's proud of you. You've lived, now he can have his destiny. And see, as a mother, that was like exactly what I wanted to hear, but it was the hardest thing to let it go. And I remember I had this thought in my head, well, maybe I'm supposed to be on a different timeline, and he's on his timeline, and if I don't let him go, I mean, this was all going on in my head, like within, seconds of this anguish when she was coaching me to create. And I'm screaming and I'm banging my hands on the floor and I'm going, no! And then I pulled it together. But with all that pain is how I created that bubble. So if these things are coming out and they're happening, understand that with every pain, every energy that you feel that's coming out of you, just recognize the lesson and love it. And if something really gets you, if something devastating happens, like that's happened, in our life, in my life for the past year, I've been on this journey. This eclipse time, this is a big awakening point for like another wave. That's a huge wave that's coming in. So there's a lot of you that are feeling all of this all at once, and some of this might sound nuts. It would have sounded nuts to me a year ago. But the best advice is that when you have an experience pop up, all it is a challenge. It's not anything but for you to go, okay, well, I am attached too much. And why do I think I can't live without this person? Because I have everything inside myself. So if I think I can't live without them, then that's a problem with me. It's terrifying, but it brings so much understanding. Yes. Everything that is happening above in astrology is happening inside of our bodies. I mean, I could even get into the Venus comet being the Draco DNA. Venus is a comet. Venus is the energy. When Venus came into the planet is when all these crazy, if you go back and look through, ancient times, the skies look different. Venus was right in front of the sun, and it was this 5-star. I mean, that's what it looked like in the sky. And then there was this red that came in. Just everything was red, and it looked like there was red plasma pouring out of the sky. Well, that is the blending of the bloodlines that we did in Egypt. Everything that has happened to us in this life, we put there, and we did it for a reason. So now that we're conscious of it, whatever, and this is like, because remember, right now, the universe is going, okay, we feel a little bit of anxiety about this and this, so let's see how she's doing or he's doing. And they're throwing an experience at it, and they're going, zap! And we're going, right? If we have a reaction, then the universe is going, oh, she still feels it. Let's give us some more. The only way to get the universe from stop is for whenever it comes to be like, oh, I recognize that. I've already learned that lesson. Thank you. And as soon as you do that, then the universe is like, oh shit, that's no fun anymore. And then it stops. Do y'all have any questions? Because I've just been going and going, but I had so many ideas up here. Hey, Caroline, sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. Yes, it becomes like a sweet. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Anything else, real quick? If y'all anything going on that you want to share, that you think maybe one of the other 15 people. I have Luna. I can't wait to meet Luna one day, man. We're going to do a show one day, Luna. Somehow. This is going to work out, I know. Hey, Christy, how come your whiteboard is flipped? I talked about this at the beginning, but let's talk about it again, okay? Because this is really interesting. It's because it's live. We talked about this at the beginning of the video. On the last live video, I noticed this, and then I started thinking about it. And it's when we're live, it looks backwards. When it's recorded, it comes out straight. When you are live now and you are conscious, then everything is backwards. We have to think through it, flip it around. Whatever block comes up, it's not a block. It's just requiring us to go create a way out. When it's a recording, then we see it straight, because that's how we've lived our entire lives, is on recordings. Interesting, right? I noticed that when the light, because it's the lens, it's all about the lens. It's all about the lens in your eye too. If y'all aren't watching your irises, watch your iris. See how white mine are getting now? Right there. You can track your your progress of consciousness through your irises. There'll be more and more geometric shapes that come through the actual color part of your eyes. And as more and more of those shapes and patterns and colors happen, what's happening is that's triggering your pineal gland in the back of your brain, and that's opening up your dimensionality. So you can also tell how awake people are. It's to the point now when I walk up to people, I know if they're awake, and I can tell, by their eyes and their energy frequency. I can also start telling what galaxies people are from by their energy frequencies. They shift. Your eyes will shift. Stare at yourself in the mirror for 10 minutes. Try not to blink. You'll see all kinds of things. My boy is on. All right, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. I love you all so much. And yes, I will make some starseed videos because the programs are the most important thing. Don't forget, if you guys, Coco at cosmicchristy.com. Last week I was booked up all week. This week is flat, nothing. So if you want a reading this coming week, give me a call, and it's super dirt cheap. Okay, this is for everyone, super dirt cheap, because we all need to get as much information as we can so we can keep on moving this train. And by the end of July, I have a feeling everything's going to be different. Last week on the readings, it's so cool because you guys are coming to me like I hadn't had a formal hunt at all. Nobody from formal hunt out of 20 readings except the last two. And then it seems like they're all coming, y'all are all coming when the moon is on Venus, or Venus is making an aspect to the moon, or specific star systems that are all starting to come online. Plus, remember, these readings are just coaching time, okay? So, and clearing. So, if we're guided, then we do clearings too. So we've cleared the Thuban bloodline, we've cleared the Zeta bloodline, we've cleared Formalot bloodline, we've cleared Beltagese, all these bloodlines back to the original seed. And all it takes is us being conscious and doing it. And this is actually how we're folding time. Because whenever, and this is how, if you look, I bet you are somewhere back where you were in 2012. The situation might be different, but if you look back to where you were at 2012, I know that in a lot of ways you're back there, and that's because we've collapsed those timelines. And if you want it, and I know this is hard to think about, so think of it this way. If we're running programs, and this is the positive programs that are coming, and this was the negative, and the negative was putting blocks on these timelines. And so all these things that were supposed to happen, that were programmed to happen, to ascend, were all getting blocked by these negative entities and these negative illusions and whatever all it was. When we clear those out of the bloodline, then what happens? They never happened. So this is how we're folding time, and this is why we're saying that we're going back to Atlantis, where this all started, because that is where we're going back to. We're going back to the original template before the Zeta and the Draconic came into our blood. Now that all has been cleared, and we're clearing it back to the seed, and so all those time frames that were manipulated are starting to vanish, and so everything's bumping up. Personally, this is how in the past year I went from not knowing even anything about my birth dad's family, okay, to finding them and knowing that both of my great grandfathers are Wikipedia worthy. One of them was Ernest Cook. I mean, my gosh, he built the Orient Express. And the other one was John Wesley Hardin, which was a notorious gunslinger in Texas, And how did that happen? It happened because I've been bumping up personally, Christie's. I've been because I've been cutting cords and I was clearing my own personal stuff. Not and at that point I wasn't realizing that I could do it for the entire race, but you can. So we do those too, and that's how this is happening. This was all according to plan. So, okay, I'm gonna shut up. Y'all have a great, great day. I love you all so much, and we're here. Change is here. None of us are alone. We're connected all over the world. If you need anything, just reach out. And let's keep creating. Create, create, create. New moon coming up on the 13th. It's a big mother. So start creating now. Mwah! I love you, Luna. Love you, Amanda. Love you, Caroline. Love you, Jenny. Love you, Maria. Love you, love you. All of you, all of you. Love you, Raven. Bye.